If you're a recent college graduate, that's your entire life. That's how long the Clintons have been in control, a quarter century. And for decades, they've held control because they and their acolytes have ruthlessly stamped out numerous charges of sexual harassment and assault brought against Bill Clinton. Suddenly, out of nowhere, that's no longer working for them. The society-wide backlash against sexual harassment by powerful producers, actors, and politicians has finally turned and bit the Clintons themselves. Just yesterday, Democratic Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, she's the one who filled Hillary Clinton's New York Senate seat when Hillary left it to become Secretary of State, said that Bill Clinton should have resigned during the Monica Lewinsky scandal. In response, Gillibrand was blasted by Hillary Clinton's longtime spokesman, Philippe Brains. He tweeted this: "Over 20 years, you took the Clintons' endorsements, money, and seat. Hypocrite." But Senator Gillibrand is not alone in turning on the Clintons. Liberal blogger Matt Iglesias, who's defended them for years, who works at Vox, he now says the president should have resigned back then. At an event in Miami, former DNC chair Donna Brazile, also very close to the Clintons, says that Bill Clinton's accusers deserve to be heard. Where's this coming from? What does it mean other than the end of the Clinton era, finally and completely? Chris Hahn is an attorney. He spent years working for Senator Chuck Schumer of New York, a longtime Clinton ally, and he joins us tonight. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Anytime, Tucker. Thanks for having me.
I'm not going to pile on the Clintons. Actually, I'm going to say something that I didn't think I would ever say. I agree with Philippe Brains in this case. I think that Senator Gillibrand is basically treating the Clintons like the Clintons treated women. She used them, and now she's discarding them. And I think it is contemptible. Wouldn't you agree?
No, look, I mean, she's got a good opinion, and I think it's a good voice that needs to be heard. And let's face it, Tucker, I think that opinions on some of the things that happened in the 90s have evolved dramatically in this country, particularly in the last, 10 months or so. And I think that there's people looking back on what happened, not just with Bill Clinton, but Anita Hill and Justice Thomas, with a whole new light. And they are looking at the women that were involved.
If I were much younger, you might be able to pull that over on me, because I'd be like, really? People didn't worry about rape in the 1990s? But I was there, actually. And Justice Thomas was never accused of any physical contact of any kind. He was accused of saying sexual things to Anita Hill. We can debate whether he did or not. But he was never accused of assault in any way. Bill Clinton was credibly accused of forcible violent rape by a woman who was not a political opponent. She was a Democrat, and she told a bunch of people about it at the time, and she was attacked by fellow Democrats, dismissed by the press, and made to feel that she'd done something wrong. That was wrong then, and it's wrong now. And what I find infuriating is all these people attacked her then, and now they're like, oh, well, standards have changed. No, rape's always been real. It's always been bad.
I agree, Tucker. I mean, you're not getting any argument with me. And you look back on it now, and there's a lot of disgust when you look back at that, both from people on the left and the right, and the way things were done towards women who came forward with allegations. And I think the initial instinct that is happening now for women to be believed until they're not is probably the right way to go. And I think we're going to see more of that. And I think it's empowering for women. And I think that we're going to see less sexual harassment in the workplace, and we're going to see women move farther up the chain, because I think having more women in power is going to stop this altogether. And I think that's a great thing for America.
That's total nonsense. That's first of all, that's nonsense. Social science doesn't back you up, and there have been studies on this, and they don't say what you say they say. But moreover, Hillary Clinton just ran for president a year ago. She's married to the guy accused of rape, and she attacked the women who accused him of sex crimes, and she didn't do it in the 90s. She did it last year while running for president, and she's still denying it. So she wanted the most powerful job in America, and she's attacking the women. So how does your theory work exactly?
Tucker, on the Clintons, I love them. I think Bill was a great president. I think she would have been a great president. They are no longer going to be the leaders of the Democratic Party. That is very, very clear at this point. In about a year and a half, we'll pick a new nominee to run for president, and he or she will be the leader of the Democratic Party going forward until they're not president or until they lose the presidential race.
No, you're right, and that's an interesting conversation. I agree with you, and actually, I would love to have a longer conversation about which wing in the party is ascendant at this point. But I can't. We need to. And I don't want to do a week of sex stories about the Clintons, because they're off the stage. I agree with you. I hope this.
New opinion polls show Alabama's popular support for more sliding or slipping away completely. It all depends on the survey, the poll you're looking at. Some Alabama voters are starting to have their doubts, though, publicly about more.
I'm saddened for our community. I'm saddened for our state, because I don't feel like this is a true representation of people in this state.
I just feel sorry for them. I really do. But if these allegations do come to be true, God help the man. And we all have our falls and our pitfalls. And I just hope whatever does happen is justice will prevail.
All right, so let's go straight to Alabama to get the inside scoop. Quinn Hillier is contributing editor of the Yellowhammer News and National Review, and he has been covering Judge Moore and Alabama politics for a very long time. Quinn, great to have you with us tonight.
Thank you, Shannon. Glad to be on with you.
All right, what is the mood down there? What's the sense you're getting on the ground?
The mood is very fluid right now. The people don't know what to make of this. You've got a lot of people very angrily defending Roy Moore. You've got a lot of people that are just saying we've had enough of it and why doesn't he get out of the way? But you got a lot of people that I've heard go back and forth and back and forth. Again, very fluid. They just don't know what to think.
Well, it's interesting because we have long talked about the fact that for a lot of people who support Moore, to get this report coming from the Washington Post, they immediately discredit it. We have a piece that was written by J. Pepper Byers down there for you guys, and I want to quote from that a little bit. And the title of the article is "Why Alabamians Won't Believe the Washington Post Story About Roy Moore, Even If It's True." It says, for decades, its editors and reporters have attacked our history, our heritage, and our culture. They ridicule our beliefs. They make fun of our people. They think our way of life is backward and offensive. Folks, they can't stand us, and they hate, I mean hate, people like Roy Moore. I mean, he talks in the article about the fact that these allegations could be true, but immediately because of that past history, people down there are going to discredit them.
Pepper has a point, and I touched on that in my two columns as well. What I want to urge people to do is to take a step back. Yes, there has been bias from the establishment media against the South and against conservatives for a long time. No, that doesn't mean that there's necessarily some grand conspiracy. And the truth might be somewhere in between, where there might be reason to look twice if it comes from, say, the Washington Post or the New York Times. At least Alabamans think that. But anybody that automatically dismisses something just because it comes from the Post is making the opposite mistake, because if they have a very well-sourced, very well-reported story, and it's this serious, people do need to at least take it seriously and look into it.
I know in talking to a lot of people surrounding the GOP steering committee down there, they've got a decision to make about whether they would formally try to withdraw him as their nominee. My understanding is, the belief is that most people think that group is not going to do that. They're going to stand by him. Do you think, though, that has the possibility, the potential to change in the coming weeks?
It could possibly change. It depends on what comes out, and that's why I keep urging everybody to hold their fire and not jump to conclusions either way. But my understanding is the steering committee met this afternoon and this evening, and right now they're hanging tight. They're not doing anything pro or con. They're just they're acting as if they still have the same candidate. But that doesn't mean that if new evidence comes out in the next week or two that they might not change their minds again.
Yeah, we have a couple more women who've come out today, and in fact some late breaking news on some more allegations. Stories very similar to what we've heard before. Do you think there's a breaking point where Alabama voters will have to say they just can't see past it, even though he's not had due process, he's not had his day in court, he's not had a legal hearing? It may be too much for him to overcome.
It might be. Again, he started some pushback today, but he only pushed back against one aspect of one of the stories, and frankly the most sensational story, and he didn't ever attack the Washington Post piece in his lawyer's press conference today. People are rational people are waiting to see what he comes up with, what the media comes up with, and then trying to figure out where do we go from here. Right now, again, you could have a big backlash in his favor if people think that he's been smeared. But you also, I've seen a lot of shifting where people that might have been for him are now saying they're not going to vote. Some people who had said they weren't going to vote at all are now saying they're going to vote against him. So, as I said at the start, very fluid, all sorts of cross-cutting pressures.
All right, Quinn Hillier, you've covered this for decades down there in Alabama. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much, Shannon. I appreciate it.